This is Partners in Practice, a weekly series dedicated to the evolving field of the advanced practice clinician. Here is your host, physician assistant, Lisa Dandrea Lenell.
You have a minor emergency and you're headed to the emergency room. Wouldn't it be nice to know how long you'll have to wait? Well, there's an app for that. With me today is Jeremy Allen, physician associate at the Hospital of Central Connecticut Department of Medicine and the director for MPAS software. Jeremy led the app development team, and he's here today to tell us about the ER wait times application. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome to Partners in Practice.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, you led the development team, and in February of this year, the Hospital of Central Connecticut launched this free iPhone application that posts wait times for emergency rooms at its New Britain and Southington campuses. Tell us what led to the decision to develop the app in the first place.
This app is kind of a collaboration between a number of people. I'm part of, as you mentioned, a software developing team with two other gentlemen, Brian Molnar and Brian Dunnigan, and the three of us put our heads together and created this app. The idea came first from the director of my emergency room. To be honest, he was talking about somehow integrating what they had already developed was their wait time through their Empower program, which is an emergency room patient tracking system. And he had already created this wait time application. However, he wanted to somehow bring it to the mobile user. He and I had just been talking about it. He knew I was involved in iPhone applications, and we created a business relationship, as it were, and sat down and created the app.
So I want to make sure the listeners understand that this app is not for life-threatening emergencies. So tell us, when is the app useful?
Yeah, that's very important to stress. This is not life-threatening. And if at any point when you are about to pull out your phone to use this app, you think maybe I should call 911, we always tell you to call 911. This app is meant for the more routine emergency visits, if that even makes sense. If you cut yourself and you feel you need stitches, if you're an asthmatic, for example, and you feel like you might have an asthma attack coming on, but you're still safe to, transport yourself or have a friend bring you into the hospital. These are the applications where, or even like a fever is a great example, where it's not life-threatening. However, you should be seen by the emergency room, and this is an emergency situation. You can pull out the iPhone and look. We have two campuses. Which campus would see you faster?
So walk us through how the application works.
Sure. So MPAS software created this app. You can download it free from the App Store website through your iTunes or even on your phone itself. This app works in that you just push on the button and initiate the app. It will instantly come up to the main page showing the two wait times in minutes from when the patient arrives and checks into the emergency room until they're seen by a practitioner, be it a physician associate or a physician themselves. And it will show both of the locations, and when you push which location you're interested in, normally the one with a shorter wait time, it will then give you directions from your actual location, pulling up the Google Maps function of the iPhone.
Is the app only for the iPhone, or can it be used with other smartphones?
At this time, it's still an iPhone-only application. We are working on getting Droid and BlackBerry involved. However, the programming for those are much different, and at this point, it's still just for the iPhone.
So the Hospital of Central Connecticut's emergency department boasts some impressive claims of being one of the busiest ERs in the state, with some of the shortest wait times in the country, and with 90 to 95% of patients being seen by a physician or a physician associate within 60 minutes. Luckily, I haven't been to the ER, but I send many patients there, and those numbers are really impressive. So why do they need that app?
That's a great question. We are a very busy hospital, and in Connecticut, we have a large population for a small area. One of the things that I think is important is this app kind of caters to a different patient population. I mean, you have to own an iPhone to have the app. So right off the bat, if you can't afford an iPhone, then this is a different kind of group we're looking at. The patients that don't have iPhones, who already know of our hospital, are already our patients. We're kind of gearing this app for the people who live in our area, who have a number of hospitals to choose from, and are really looking for convenience and speed in terms of being seen as quickly as possible. This is kind of the next generation of patients who are the same generation of patients who are using the internet to help, self-diagnose or at least come to their doctor's office or to see the PA, armed with information. These are the people who are interested in kind of taking some of their own healthcare into their own hands. They're empowered to be able to check out, when can I be seen? Can I be seen in 20 minutes, or can it be 60 minutes, Or do I not know when it is and I just go to the emergency room and wait? And a lot of people will take the choice off. If I know that it's only 20 minutes, I'll go to that emergency room.
So let's talk about accuracy. In medicine, timing is everything. Everything's a block of time, right? And it's very tricky. And I work in primary care, and I might be perfectly on time all day, and then an acute chest pain walks in, and I'm an hour and a half late. So how accurate is the app, and how do you manage the patient's expectations? If they look and it says 20 minutes, they get there, and you tell them an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the hardest part. And as you said, this affects everybody in medicine. Sometimes there's a real emergency. And now all of a sudden having a cut finger, while to you is probably the biggest emergency you've had in a long time, it doesn't compare to the person who's having a heart attack at the next room. It's a really good point. And I think the iPhone app does its very best to kind of keep that at bay. The times are updated every 5 minutes. So when if you check back in 5 minutes, you may notice that the time has changed. That said, we are used to having, at least in our emergency room, all sorts of varying levels of emergency, as it were. I think that people, if they come in, they're usually pretty understanding that, hey, someone just came in with a heart attack, so our wait time isn't as short as we hoped it would be. Our hospitals are located near each other, and if it's a cut finger and you can go to the other hospital, that's certainly the patient's choice. But usually the patients are seen fairly quickly, and the times don't change so drastically, even with an emergency. We have 40 rooms in our main emergency room, so this time is averaged out over those 40 rooms.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Partners in Practice on ReachMD, the channel for medical professionals. I'm PA Lisa Dandrea Lenell, and I'm speaking with Jeremy Allen, Physician Associate at the Hospital of Central Connecticut Department of Medicine, and the Director for iPathy Software. And we're discussing the ER wait times application. So, Jeremy, what has the feedback been from the patients who've been using the app?
This just came out a few months ago, and the word is still spreading. However, I have already gotten a few people compliment the app. They like it. They really feel good and empowered that they can choose which of our 2 emergency rooms or of all the emergency rooms in the local geographic area. They know that this hospital only takes 20 minutes to be seen. This hospital takes 5 minutes. I know which one I want to go to. It really kind of helps patients choose, in their busy lives. Emergencies aren't always planned. Actually, they're almost never planned. So I think that there's something about, not being inconvenienced. I think people really like that.
Well, let's talk about the community. Are there any plans to work with other hospitals in that community to expand the use of the app instead of just the 2 campuses, maybe all of the surrounding hospitals?
Our 2 campuses were all part of the same group, and then other hospitals in the area, of course, are technically the competition of the Hospital of Central Connecticut. So I'm not sure exactly how much collaboration there will be, particularly when they all find out that Hospital of Central Connecticut does have some of the shortest wait times in the area. I think that would be counterproductive for the competing hospitals. That said, countrywide, we have a number of contracts out right now in various geographic locations to develop similar apps. We've just created an app that was published in the beginning of May for an Arizona ER group, and it's just like this application, similar in the sense that it gives you maps to location and wait times.
Let's talk about that a second. So the contracts are with your company, iPathy. So have the other hospitals heard about this app, and now they're coming to iPathy and saying, we're interested in this, and now it's growing that way?
Absolutely, yeah. When this first came out, the app was presented at a technology and medicine conference, and it garnered a lot of good reviews. A lot of people were very excited about this. I think we've already noticed in medicine that the internet and just this kind of wired accessibility of data everywhere has really kind of put a lot of power in the patient's hands, and patients are, for the most part, really enjoying this. They kind of have some say over how they get treated and who treats them. I think this iPhone app is just the next step in that kind of empowerment of the patient.
Are there any plans for enhancement or improvements that aren't already baked into this version?
Definitely. Even our Arizona ER app has kind of been modified and upgraded, as it were, as compared to this app. This app is also always undergoing changes whenever there's an update. This is the free update that the phone automatically does so that you have the most recent running program. We haven't had any major issues yet with the programming of the apps since it came out. However, we do find that there's some tweaks that make it either more user-friendly or more accurate in terms of perhaps directions or wait times.
So is iPathy a medical software company?
Actually, it's a funny story. iPathy started off as a two-man show. Brian Molnar and Brian Dunnigan were the developer and graphic designer of the app, and they kind of started off just testing the waters. They created an application called Money Clock, which is a finance one they put out at the end of 2009. It's kind of just a fun way to see how you earn your money. You put in your salary, and it just ticks away, and you can view it by week or month. Brian Dunnigan's a close friend of mine, and I had this opportunity to kind of work with them for our Central Connecticut ER app. We all kind of joined forces. I jumped in as kind of a public relations and creative consultant, as it were, for the MPAS. And now the three of us are kind of teamed up, and we're working together to explore this very specific niche of iPhone apps. We don't peg ourselves at this point as a medical developer. However, we definitely have more interest in that at this point than anything else.
Jeremy, how many times has the app been downloaded?
Apple doesn't actually publish the exact numbers. However, I talked to my software developer, and he says that the app's been downloaded at least 3,000 times. There's a certain kind of achievements you make with the iTunes Store. So we have over 3,000 downloads, but we haven't crossed the 5,000 mark just yet.
And who manages the wait times? Is it iPathy or is it someone at the hospital?
The wait times are calculated based off of a program called Empower. And Empower is a patient tracking system used by the emergency room. The way it works is when a patient gets registered, they have a file created for them, and it timestamps when the registering happened. And then the patient's brought into a room, and the patient is then seen by a physician or a physician associate. And when that happens, the physician or physician associate clicks on that patient's chart, which timestamps it again. The difference in those times is the wait time, and then that is averaged out across all the patients in real time.
And how has that been received by the staff in the ER?
It has mixed reviews, I can definitely be honest. There is a pressure to try to maintain a good wait time. There's definitely an administrative push to make sure that we maintain our reputation of having short wait times. I think that for the most part, people do like it, though, because it's something to be proud of. It's something to know that, we work hard in our emergency room, and yet we see some of the greatest number of patients in the whole state, and we have one of the shortest wait times.
So do you think that the release of the app has made the ER run more efficiently?
Honestly, I don't know if the app has really changed the ER. I think what it has done is it's kind of helped take the burden off of the busier ER. And the more that the app proliferates among patients, especially the patient population with iPhone who are, coming in with non-911 emergencies, I think it kind of helps the ER that's not as busy kind of sees more patients. More patients come to that ER because they know they have a shorter wait time, and it helps kind of balance out the pressures on the ER.
So do you see opportunities for similar technology in other areas of medicine?
Absolutely. I think this is just the first step, and while I can't divulge exactly what we're working on, MPAS software is working on a number of different medical app ideas that kind of, along the same vein, empowers the patient to play a role in their healthcare decision-making process.
I work in primary care, and when I first saw this app, I was trying to think of a way it could be used in my setting. And do you see a role where the patient could check in advance to see if their medical provider is running on time?
Yeah, that's, everyone has to be kind of wired. The more we use computers in our healthcare environment, the more we can kind of extrapolate data from what we're using and kind of create things like this iPhone app. So, it's not unreasonable that if you check in your patients on the computer, and it's a similar kind of program that even, primary care providers could display wait times, or, hey, we're running 10 minutes late, we apologize for the inconvenience, or, whatever it is. But kind of, again, empowering the patient to understand what's going on behind the scenes a little bit.
So where do people get the app?
So the app is found on the iTunes Store by using iTunes, or if they do it on their actual iPhone itself. You can actually use your iPod Touch, which is just like the iPhone, however, it doesn't have the phone quality, but if you are on a Wi-Fi, then you can also use our app. And then you just can search for any number of words, emergency room wait time. This one is Central CTER. Again, we have, for the Arizona listeners, Arizona ER. You can check in the future for more emergency room wait time apps in your local area.
Well, it's a great idea, and today's healthcare consumer is definitely driven to functions like this. So thank you, Jeremy, and thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me.
You've been listening to Partners in Practice on ReachMD. You can download this program and any other program in our library at reachmd.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for listening.